I have requested the book.
Excellent. I don't know. Sometimes Discord does this really fun thing where I will type a message out and have it like pre-prepped to go. And then it'll sit there for a minute or two while I'm doing the rest of the stuff I'm doing. And then I hit enter to send it. And it's like, you wanted another line on that message? And I was like, no, nothing's pushing control or shift right now. I want it. Send it. Send it.
Like, you waited so long that we're pretty sure you had more to say. So
we're pretty sure you were going to type more stuff before you sent this. We're almost positive.
You don't know me, computer. You don't know me. Oof.
Oh, I just heard the knock.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Lauren.
It is what it is. I could have cooked myself dinner, but I was too lazy.
I mean, I'm not going to take credit for anything. Alex got home from work. I was still on a tech support call with one of our users, and she was like, I'm going to start making dinner. And I was like, bless you. So I get no credit for dinner having been made tonight for me.
I spent December reading a bunch of novellas. It was very fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I do like our
novella
months.
Our novella months are really nice. Any particular ones you want to throw down for
yes,
folks who might be watching?
Let me find my read list. Pull up Goodreads here. It was, how do I change this? Date read. The Empress of Salt and Fortune. So this was one of the novellas nominated for the Hugo this year. And I read it and I was immediately like, this is my favorite. And it won. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a fantasy, like sort of a Asian inspired fantasy world. And there is a history cleric that goes around, like their like holy order goes around collecting knowledge. And they go to this old abandoned kind of palace and learn the history of this empress through her like material goods. So as like an archaeologist, I thought that was really cool. And it was a fun little concept.
You had me at history cleric.
I was going to say I was definitely intrigued at that point as well.
Yeah, we should definitely do a novella month at some point in the next couple of months. Maybe after Goblin Emperor.
Yeah. Yeah, I may as well do that kind of at the top before we start talking about. So ordinarily, I know we do a whole like, here's the next book, like suggestions, and we're going to vote on them and all of those things. I will 100% take the blame for that not happening on this one. We got to like, wasn't even a week ago, I think, that Sharon was like, did we pick a book for after Lumberjanes? And I was like, no, we didn't. So we kind of had a book club heads just confab and quickly decided that we were just going to read Lauren's pick of Goblin Emperor. This is largely because my company is moving from 3 office buildings down to 1 brand new office building. And as you might be aware, that is a ridiculous amount of work. And I've been pulling a lot of overtime, and everything's been very stressful. And there's been the holidays. And So yeah, we simplified this month.
Goblin
some good
Club,
news.
Goblin Emperor.
Yeah.
It's
fate.
Yeah. It's a good way to start the year. Let's be real. And then the other thing to announce kind of at the top of the order is that we're going to change our scheduling up a little bit because we find that the beginning of the month tends to have more stuff going on. So we are going to move Goblin Book Club to the last Tuesday of every month, starting next month. So for this month, you will technically have a little over a month to read your new book because we won't be meeting again until the 22nd of February. And the plan is to go from then forward to always last Tuesday. So March 29th, April 26th, May 31st, and so on and so forth. Obviously, if we need to shift things a little bit because there's some kind of big crazy event, we will do that. That's fine. But for the most part, we should be pretty reliably on that last Tuesday, as opposed to being like, we'll be on the first-ish Tuesday, provided we get like 4 weeks to read a book and thereabouts.
Sounds good to me.
Nice and predictable. I like it.
Yeah.
I definitely was starting to be driven a little bit crazy by the inconsistency of our schedule. I feel like it was necessary for all the other things that were going on, but you know.
Yeah, it was consistently inconsistent in a consistent way. But now it's all consistent.
And for a little organizational plug, I just pulled up my calendar and checked to make sure I had the new date on there. And I did, but you can do that too.
Yay!
Ever since that one time, Sharon called me and was like, hey, book club's right now. And I was fully in the bath, like bubble bath. I've been really vigilant with my calendar for book club.
Look, I'm going to say this right now. I guarantee anyone who is a book club aficionado who goes back and looks through the YouTube and is like, are they, who are, where, and when? They're not going to know that you had just gotten out of the bath and then blitzed in to be part of book club. Like you had it very together. Like
smooth.
The biggest
many
hint
years
may
of
have been wet
oversleeping
hair.
my alarm. You know, I've got a lot of practice at getting ready on the hurry.
It's a good skill to have. A good skill to have. I will speak to this. We have not been invited to Richmond Galaxy Con. I have a suspicion that we will be there in some form or another. But we have reached out. So if you know anyone who knows anyone that's part of Richmond Galaxy Con, you want to put in a good word for us, we'd absolutely be willing to go.
I have not been to GalaxyCon. What rough time is that? Is what month? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's changed every time we've gone to it, but I believe the plan is March. I believe it's end of March.
Usually first quarter-ish, but when? Yeah.
I think the first one we went to was like the last week of February. And then the second one we went to was like mid-March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that. Let's see. Trying to see if we've got some dates.
Oh, I suspect there are dates up now. I would be shocked if there weren't. I didn't even think to look. Hi, Kyle.
March 18th through 20th, 2022.
Okay, so that is the second to last weekend of March. Maybe that's the new schedule? I don't know.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's playing music. I don't want it. Throwing my phone away.
We've all been that person at a meeting.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure. I mean, look, you told us you were looking things up. It wasn't like you were like browsing things absentmindedly, waiting for the meeting to actually start. Music suddenly starts.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So, what was everyone's impressions of Lumberjanes? I wish I read it on my phone. I wish I had the physical copy.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked the art a lot, but I struggle with my definition of graphic novel, which I would like to bring as my first conversational topic to book club. How would you define graphic novel?
That's a good question. Definitely. I mean, I'm not an expert because I don't read graphic novels very much. But before Josh gives the right take, I would say...
I don't know that I'm going to have the right take.
Comic art with like a narrative throughout, which this didn't quite have. It had a little bit of a narrative format, but it didn't quite tell a story, or maybe it was sort of gearing up to it.
Yeah, I feel like it just got to the point where it's like, oh, I think we have a story happening here. I can see what's going on. And then it stopped. And so I was like, well, I thought that there was more here, but then there was like a lot of art in the back. So I thought that there were more pages left than there were. And then it was all like art, which was really cool. But yeah, I knew that it was the first in like a series, but I thought that each part of the series would be a full narrative story, and instead I just got exposition, and I'm just like, boo! I want to know what is happening now, but it'll do the same thing to me if I buy the next book, and I'll be like, okay, and then it'll end, and then I'll be annoyed again. So. That was just my irritation there.
I think that's totally fair.
A TV pilot, just enough to be like, oh, how interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of pitches the world and the vibe.
Yeah, I dig the world and the vibe. It's good. It's a little cute. It was a little cute, but I liked it.
It definitely has some YA vibes for me, which reading back, I was like, oh my gosh, I'd forgotten how much this is about like teens doing teen stuff.
I feel like it's actually like maybe even younger than YA. Like I would almost call this like middle grade, which is like, I don't know. Well, I think the definition of that is like they kind of split YA into two, where it's like you're like 14 to like 18 is like YA, and then you're like 10 to like 14 is like middle, like whatever times you're in middle school, it's like middle grade. I don't know, because like camp counselors earning like scouting badges, that to me that says like 12 or 13. But I could be wrong. I mean, I stopped being in the scouts around then, so maybe I'm bringing some bias to it.
Yeah, I feel like estimating this to be at like middle school level sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Boy Scout program at the very least goes up to the age of 18. by 18 you're expected to like graduate out and become either some kind of troop leader if you're going to continue with the program, or just like go on to do things like a career. I would definitely agree that I think this is like the real like target demographic for these books is in kind of that 12 to 14 range. It definitely felt like a 12 to 14 book. So if that's middle grade, then I'm good. I'm fine with that. As far as defining graphic novels is concerned, for me, basically anything that is comic based and has a plot progression to it, as opposed to being something like, I mean, Batman like has plot, but Batman is also built to be kind of like it's going to go forever, and you know it's going to go forever. Where this is like the artists and the writers are clearly going somewhere, like they have one thread in mind that they're running with. I think that's the way I think of like graphic novels.
Do you think of like a length also being a component of graphic novels?
Well,
you know, like a novel has like technically a defined length, and then there's novella, and then there's like short story. And so like, do you think of graphic novels in that way?
Definitely it has to be longer than your typical comic book, which I think the actual technical definition, like if I was to walk out into the living room and be like, Alex, what would you call the Lumberjanes? Like, what would you call this? And just like push it towards, she'd probably be like, oh, that's a trade paperback. Because what it is a collection of multiple comics into a book.
Yeah, I would agree with Alex's fictional answer. Because
yes, star.
I feel like in order for me to call a thing a novel, like the plot has to answer almost as many questions as it asks. And this, it just sets up so much and tells you not really anything. And so like the fact, like if like the next few Lumberjanes books were all smushed into one and it was the whole thing, like from start to finish, a narrative arc, then I would be more happy to call it a novel of any sort. But as it is, I'm like, this is a bunch of comics smushed into a book shape. Ooh. Which, like, granted, it is, enjoyed them, but also I was like, I didn't get any resolution whatsoever, and I'm upset.
I think just one final comment on graphic novels is, to me, I also, because like I kind of distinguish them from like manga, right? Even though like there's some similarity with at least what we're saying. But I think of graphic novels as being like thematically different than comics in a lot of ways. Like when I think of like American comic books, I think of superheroes. And when I think of graphic novels, I tend to think of the comics that aren't about superheroes. Because they tend to be about, I mean, of course, like one of the most famous graphic novels is like Watchmen, which is about superheroes. But I kind of think of like comics not about superheroes, which I don't like superhero stuff that much. So like when I think of like when I think of like walking into a comic book shop, I'm like, I'm looking for graphic novels. I don't know if anybody else makes that distinction.
Yeah, like Persepolis is a graphic novel. It's definitely like it's all drawn, but it's a bigger, chunkier, non-superhero book. So like I feel like the story of Lumberjanes would work for the graphic novel categorization of like topic, but the like length and fullness of plot wasn't there for me for my mental definition.
Cool.
So what I'm hearing here is that you're irritated that I got you hooked and then left you with not enough meat on the bone. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and the thing is I'm not sure if I'm like irritated enough or unirritated enough to actually like bother trying to read more, because what if it never ends? What if there's so many? What if there's so much? I don't have oomph to do it.
That is actually a great question, and not one that I thought of before we started this. So I'm gonna just pardon my ticky tap noises. Has it ended? Is it still publishing? It has ended. But bad news. There are 20 volumes in this story arc. And then there is a different 6-volume arc. And then there are 2 books, one called Bonus Tracks and one called Campfire Songs, which are both collections of short stories.
I vote down on it being a graphic novel. No. The first part of 20, it is not a graphic novel. It is a trap, is what it is. Also, it's a D&D campaign, just by the way. Definitely had some D&D
I was thinking that too. I was like, it would be fun to have like a D&D group, like role play, like kids at a camp, or like their whatever, like their kid selves at a camp, and then they do like supernatural stuff. I was like, what a fun like little one-shot campaign.
That's fun. Write it for us. Do it. You know you want to so badly. We could totally figure
I
that.
was a summer camp counselor at a Boy Scout camp for an entire summer.
So you're ready for this, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Sure. Make it happen. 2022. It's your year. 2 more. Writing. You dipped your toe in last year. Let's go.
I'm loving the peer pressure.
Here for it.
I will say, as far as running a game like that is concerned, if D&D seems like it's not the right system for it, there is a system called Kids on Bikes, which is basically kind of Scooby-Doo, kind of Stranger Things. Like, it's got sort of that vibe of like, we're children and we're going to solve this weird supernatural mystery. And it's the whole system is built for exactly that.
Yeah, that sounds like exactly what I'm thinking of. Kids on Bikes. I've heard of that. I think maybe you've talked about it before. Somebody has.
Totally possible.
Speaking of things that this reminded us of, have either of you seen Gravity Falls? It's a cartoon series.
I haven't yet, but I know I need to.
Bro, it's so good.
I know I need to.
And this had very strong Gravity Falls energy with sort of these outgoing, inquisitive kids that are in this area where just like weird, unexplained things keep happening. Yeah, super fun. Lighthearted, except Gravity Falls sort of like weaves this like story throughout that's just like really fun and good. So good. But yeah, this one definitely reminded me of Gravity Falls, which was fun. But I can't say anything else other than it's a good cartoon to watch. I dressed up as Mabel one of the main characters from Gravity Falls one year at MagFest. So
that's right. I remember being like, I feel like I know your character, but I also feel like I don't know your character.
But no, I liked Lumberjanes. I liked the art. That was probably my favorite aspect of it. I liked sort of the diverse body types, and like sometimes in comics things can get a little samey, especially when like most of your characters are girls of the same age or whatever. But the character design was like fun and really different, and I felt like the art and the way it flowed was really dynamic. It wasn't too constrained to like the boxes. So I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I really like Noelle Stevenson's art. I loved Nimona so much, and like I would like to share maybe one of my favorite panels is this one after the little sea monster guy gets shot in the eye with a scrunchie, and just like his little like face where his eye is like watering and his other one is all scrunched up. It's nice. It's like I can feel his pain. It's nice.
One of my favorite panels was when they decide to like go into this cave, and they like you see them tumbling through the channel. I don't know. It was I liked how big it was and kind of the sense of movement, and yeah.
It was also now. It was fun to see in that particular panel kind of everybody's individual sliding style.
Yeah, it was like they really like paid attention to each character's personality with their movement.
I also really enjoyed, speaking of body types not being samey, I really enjoyed how no one's body type is like a detriment to their ability to do stuff as part of the team. Like, they've got Riley, who's part of the fastball special, who makes the best fastball. Or I'm sorry, Ripley. And it's just like even your like smaller slider characters have their own like skills and natural abilities.
And you can like them.
Right. And they're like strong additions to the team. There's no one who's like, oh, well, like we're going to have to watch out for this character. Like everybody's like holding their own in some way or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did really enjoy that.
After talking about a panel that I like, I will say a thing that I was annoyed by. And maybe this is just a design choice. I don't know if this carried over to like how you were reading it, Lauren. But at the beginning of each section, it's set up to be like the part of the field manual. So it like looks like this and it's got like the field manual, and then at the end of that section it's kind of like a series of snapshots or something over top of the rest of the manual, kind of.
Yeah.
Like more of the manual. But on every page that has the snapshots, it's the exact same page of the manual. So it's always the page that's how to wear the uniform. So instead of looking like you're flipping through an actual manual, you just have the same repeat page over and over again. And so like I would get there and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to read more. And then I'm like, oh, it's the same page. I've already read.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Which I feel like we could have made some other choices there. It's not that hard to make a fake field manual. Darn it.
I think
says me,
not
Frankie, person who's never made a field manual before.
I think the idea behind that if I may defend an artistic decision, perhaps. I think the idea was probably, if you're going to be using a field manual like that, then you flip to whatever the merit badge you're working on is, and that's like the start of your chapter. And so there's a lot of info there that you're trying to take in. And then if you're collecting like your photos and your scraps and your notes, you're putting those right in the tail end of the book. And so that's what they're doing, is like collecting all of their pictures and things in that last page, and then kind of reviewing them at the end of that adventure. That was at least my take on using the same page at the end every time.
Then what happened to the old pictures? Did they just rip them out and put new ones on top?
I'll agree. I think it's just a missed opportunity for a little bit of like world building.
Exactly. Yes, missed opportunity. I would have read it. If they had words there, I would have read them. I wanted to read them.
The thing that's always gotten me with that page is because there's always snapshots and trinkets and things like that on it, you never get to read the whole page. It's always, and I've read, I think, 4 or 5 volumes of Lumberjanes at this point, which is part of why I had to go look up whether or not it was an ongoing series or if they'd actually like brought the whole thing to a close. I've read like 4 or 5 volumes, and it's always a different merit badge at the top, and then like it's the same page at the end of every issue. And so you never get to read the whole page. You get the general idea of what the whole page is about, but you also, like, since that's the page that's all about like maintaining a clean and well-kept uniform, and then you look at the characters and literally none of them are wearing the uniform except the counselor. Like, I think that's part of the joke, is like, well, no one cares about this page, so we can cover it with pictures and trinkets and things.
Yeah.
I like that as
and then there's a line about God or whatever.
I liked that joke. Mm-hmm. I thought it just felt very campy, because like all of the summer camps have those lines. And so it definitely felt like, oh, this is a person that like went to summer camps and that was like a part of their childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely appreciated that vibe of the book overall. Was like, yeah, I know what that's like, which was nice.
Yeah, I think because of so many of those organizations originating as like youth groups and things like that, I think that's why you find it so ubiquitously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kyle pointed out those lines are for sure in Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also really enjoyed how it is not a camp for young ladies. Like, they kept the entire like really elaborate name, but it's not a camp for young ladies. It is a camp for lady types.
Yeah, what's the adjective in there? Hardcore lady types.
Well, it's a very hardcore camp.
Hardcore lady types.
Very fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that brings me so much joy.
Yeah. I do really enjoy the art style, but it mostly made me want to go back and read the entirety of Nimona.
I don't think I ever read Nimona, but
it's so great. It's so great.
I've heard such fantastic things.
You'd like the the nemesis vibes / it's like a nemesis bromance that's happening. It's so good. It's so great.
Yeah. Sounds good. Do we have any Closing comments or takeaways?
So a couple of things on that I noticed that kind of came up in chat. Did anyone else notice that the fox eye that gets like punched out is the exact same as the Boy Scouts little like neckerchief holder thing?
Yeah, I noticed that when the Boy Scouts all went rabid, or the scouting lads, when the scouting lads went rabid, like one of them like sort of glowed or something, and it's like, oh, it's an eyeball.
I also really loved with the scouting lads the kind of like gender expectations reversal where like these hardcore lady types are out in the woods roughing it and like kayaking down rivers and fighting river monsters, and then the scouting lads are like, we just baked cookies, and also would you like some tea? Gosh, we love baking cookies and making tea.
Yeah, I thought that was very charming.
I was about it.
Very cute. Yeah, where are those rabid scouting lads? Yeah, they're all of the little neckerchief things are glowing when they go rabid. Yeah. Oh no, not now. And then it glows. And then teeth and zombie eyes. Also, I like the part where they had to stop and pick up the mess before they could give peace. I thought that was fun.
It's so good. It makes me so happy. So overall, I will accept the criticism, because I will say it's more of a criticism of my selection, that this is not a like full narrative arc in a graphic novel. I think I selected it in part because I was like, what are we going to find that has full narrative arcs? There's going to be very little for us to choose from. And so I was like, well, I'll pick something that's like, it's fun and it's kind of quick and it'll be an easy read. And then if people get hooked on it, then, you know, I'm helping out my partner who is a dealer.
Well, it's fine because just look at that face. Just look at that face. It's I don't know
such
why
a good
I
face
relate to this river monster on such a deep level, but I do. It's great.
So, all right, Lauren, since you have selected next month's book, The Goblin Emperor by Katherine Addison. I believe you explained a little bit about it to us last month, but if you would care to refresh us on what we're getting ourselves into.
Yes. So I have not read it, so I can't speak too deeply to what it's about, but it was, I think it won a couple of awards. It's a high fantasy all about court intrigue and politics. And I think this, do I look it up or do I just tell you what I remember and then we see if it's real?
Make something up.
So,
let's.
I've looked at the synopsis fairly recently, and so I can help like a little bit, but my memory is also terrible. So I too could be wrong.
It's like a royal prince or some such is exiled from the court, and then the king and heir die, and so he winds up inheriting and then enters this court that he knows nothing about, and everyone's out to get him. He doesn't know who he can trust, and it turns out that there was a murder. I mean, obviously, come on, kings don't just die, and that's what it's about. Murder,
I think the only
intrigue and backstabbing and all. I assume there's some goblins in there.
I was about to say, I think the only point that I feel like needs like clarification on, because I think that synopsis is beautiful, is he is a half elf, half goblin child and he is coming back to the Elven Kingdom, and then his goblin father or grandfather shows up and is like, hey, what if you did these things instead? What if, maybe?
Okay. So we have some goblin elf tension mixed in.
Yes. Yes. Which I think will be very interesting.
I like that cover that you popped up there. My copy doesn't have that cover, so I'm a little jealous.
I have no idea what the cover will look like when we get them from Alpha. I will just, before we start the show, I will Google the title of the book, and sometimes I'll have to add the author because it's like a title that's like 5 other things as well. And I'll be like, this is the coolest one. This is the one we're putting up.
I support
It's
that.
It's only backfired on me like one time because I can't remember. I think it was 9 Fox Gambit where I was like, God, this cover is so cool. And then the book cover was like cool-ish, but a little less cool than the one I had found. I was like, dang it.
Yeah. Do we want to do suggestions for the following month?
Yeah, let's do suggestions for I guess that'll be March's book.
Oh my God. Wow.
I know, right?
I can't handle that.
I mean, part of it is that we're going to be talking about the Goblin Emperor at the end of February, even though we're meeting right now at the beginning of January. So that's part of why that feels so much further away than it, regardless. Well, it'll be March. What do we want to pick a specific theme for March, or do we want to just kind of like slap books on the table and be like, these are books, we should read one of them?
If I could propose a theme, I think we've done a number of fantasy books. Maybe it's time for a sci-fi.
I'm open to a sci-fi.
Same. I don't have any good recommendations off the top of my head, though.
I will also have to think about it.
I'm good with that. We've got almost 2 months to figure out what books, put them in a list, me to make the poll, us to vote on the poll, and then get them ordered and like ready in time for us to read them before next book club. I think we can do this. I believe in us. I believe in the power of us.
We got it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. If y'all want to post suggestions or like thoughts in the book club chat, as we're kind of like ruminating on the sorts of books we might want to get into, then I can just collect things as we filter them in and then create a list from that.
Sounds good to me.
And audience folks, if you come up with anything that you want to suggest for a sci-fi book, feel free to throw it in chat now or throw it in the book club chat. That's on our Discord. If you're not already on our Discord, then I'm very surprised, but there's the link. bit.ly/Goblin Discord. It's a very easy link.
Oh, I'm excited. I feel like it's been a hot minute since I've read a sci-fi book.
Yeah, let's think. So 9 Fox Gambit was decidedly sci-fi. Was that the last sci-fi we read though? Like as a group?
No, that was long ago. We did the Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
Oh, you're right.
There's
Fortunate if to learn. Am I
To be
getting the
taught
title
and
that way wrong?
fortunate.
To be taught a fortunate. That's
Nice.
where my brain's at, folks. That's
See,
where
you
my
said
brain's
it.
at.
I knew what you meant. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
We went there. How to Lose the Time War could maybe be considered sci-fi.
Yeah.
Kyle points out Left Hand of Darkness.
Yep.
That's definitely sci-fi.
Wow, it's amazing how much, like, I need to keep like a little running list of all of the books we've read. Because now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, we did read that.
The running list of all the books we've read that I use is our YouTube page. There was somebody was like, what book were you most excited to have read in 2021? And I was like, did we read Gideon the Ninth? No, we did not. That was 2020. Did we read Six of Crows? No, that was also 2020. Dang it. So many good books in 2020.
The book club event page on the website has all of the cover images of all of the books, which is very pretty to look at. And then if you hover over the book image, it'll tell you the month and the year that we read it too.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's bring this thing on home. Sharon, you got anything you want to plug?
Oh no. I can't think of anything right now. Like some cool projects happening, but nothing that I can say, oh yeah, look for this at this time, because it's that time of year where everything is chaos. So
True. Lauren, what do you want to plug?
The same thing I always plug, which is you can follow me on Instagram to read my book reviews, see what I'm reading, which is typically sci-fi, fantasy, or romance. That's what I got.
And I am going to plug our Patreon, patreon.com/goblinsgrowlers. You can get one-page dungeons. You can get bonus audio content, not just for our actual play adventure Quid Pro Roll, but now for Brandon and my TTRPG or somebody, what did they call it? They called it a tabletop-ish podcast, because we talk about TTRPGs, but we also sometimes talk about like board games like the Return to Dark Tower. And occasionally we talk about really old modules or really old systems. So we do a wide variety of madness. And there's a bonus audio for that as well on the $5 level on our Patreon. You can get one-page dungeons, some of which have been created by Sharon, some of which have been created by me, some of which have been created by Lauren. You could get all kinds of cool stuff. Go there. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. If you have the money to support us and you're feeling like that's something you want to do, there's lots of cool stuff that we give you in return for your support. For those of you who are already supporting us, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We cannot do things like book club without the support of our patrons, because we can't afford things like software, because all of us are day job poor. We are trying to live our lives. It's very difficult. So that's my plug. And if you're already on the Patreon and you're like, I don't really think I can give more, but you want to share our stuff with other folks, please do. We love having more people on book club. We love having more people listening to podcasts. We love having more people just genuinely in the environment. Bring them into the Discord, make them part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the crew, all good things. All right. I'm feeling good. Y'all feeling good?
Feeling good.
Let's call it a night. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you on, let me look at the calendar one more time, February the 22nd. Bye, y'all.
Bye.